You're listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast, celebrating hunting dog heritage, competition, and community. United Kennel Club has been the hunting dog sports home for coonhounds, beagles, retrievers, pointers, cur, feist, and more for over 125 years.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. This is your host, Trevor Wade. I'm the Coonhound Program Manager here at UKC, and I am joined today by Miss Taylor Armstrong, the Director of Customer Service and Registration here at UKC. Taylor, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks, Trevor.
Yeah, good. I know you're kind of like me and not used to all these cameras and microphones in front of us, but we'll get through this. This will be fun. So a lot of the people that are listening today will be familiar with you. You've been a fixture at our major events and all the hunting segments, coonhounds, beagles, cur, feist, all those throughout the years. I traveled to a lot of them. Are there some of them that kind of stand out to you as far as being your favorites to travel to?
I really like going to all of them, to be perfectly honest. I like getting out and talking to the people that I'm processing paperwork for over the years. I've been to a lot of coonhound events, a lot of beagle events, never been to an HRC event or even a cur or feist event. So looking forward to getting out to some of those in the near future, hopefully.
Yeah, sounds like Alan has kind of hogged you over the years, sounds like.
A little bit, yeah.
I know sometimes when I go to some major events, like Grand American specifically stands out. They're always super bummed whenever I show up and you're not there. They're always like, hey, where's Taylor at? I'm like, hey, I can do it too. I'm just maybe not as nice as she is, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, they're those guys that they sure miss seeing you there. So hopefully you'll be able to get out and travel a little bit more these coming years.
For sure, yeah.
And I know that we both have one of the things that we have in common is kind of an affinity for college sports. We're always jabbing back and forth about college football and basketball and baseball. And we're kind of in the meat of it here. Football season is kind of rolling. We're almost halfway through the season already, which is hard to believe. And we got basketball season on tap already. You went to Michigan State, right?
I did. Yep. I graduated from Michigan State in 2008 and I bleed green and white. So good, bad, or indifferent. I'm watching and sometimes screaming at my TV, but
yeah, you know, I'm a Tennessee fan, of course, coming from Tennessee, lived there my whole life, but I definitely tend to go towards the green and white rather than the maize and gold. Is that what they call it?
They say maize and blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to get up on my colors of the Big Ten teams, I guess.
But we don't like to talk about them though. So.
Yeah, we won't even mention them. But yeah, hey, let's get into it. Today we're going to talk a little bit about registration and customer service, which I think people will be really interested to hear about, and some of the different things that you guys are doing, and a lot of the improvements that you've made specifically over the past few weeks have been just incredible. So I'm glad to be able to dive into it a little bit. So can we just start out with kind of an update on where you guys are on online and mailed in registration applications?
Yeah. So everything mailed, emailed, online, we're all sitting at about 2 weeks out. So some things are maybe a day or two ahead of that. But the beginning of the summer, we were about 6 weeks out, which was not a good place for us to be, and not a good place for our customers to be sitting at. But we've pushed really, really hard throughout the summer, and everything is right at that 2 week mark. So our goal is to get to 1 week. So still have a little bit of work, but we have made a lot of improvements on that in the training and breakdown of where tasks lie within our team and things like that. So much of a shorter wait now for everybody sending stuff in, for sure.
Absolutely. And it's showing. I'm just curious, I have started around the end of 2019. In that time, is that where you're working at? Usually about a week out. Is that what you guys are shooting for usually?
Yep. So we have kind of found that 1 week is kind of that sweet spot.
Yeah.
So, it allows us to kind of start processing mail from like Monday of that week on Friday of that same week. So, and a quicker turnaround for everybody, even with the about a week in the mail. So,
yeah. And that's important for any of our listeners or viewers to know is that that's right now you're currently 2 weeks out. That's 2 weeks of it arriving here. Not two weeks as of you putting it in your mailbox, because we know we're not going to be responsible for any lead times by the postal services that are getting them in. But when it hits the office here, 2 weeks from that date, it's getting processed right now, which is incredible strides that have been made the past couple months. So kudos to you and your team just for the past couple of years, all the hard work and overtime you guys have put in. It hasn't gone unnoticed on our end for sure.
Yeah, and definitely. And you hit on the post office there. I mean, we have seen huge improvements on that end too. So things that were at sometimes taking, close to 2 weeks to get here, most mail is being delivered in about a week. So that's great for everybody too. It shortens that entire time up from when it leaves their hands to when they have it back.
Absolutely. One thing that I get asked a lot at some events or a lot of time in messages or calls is people who are submitting like litters or single registration applications. The difference between doing them online and mailing in the physical paperwork, is there a difference in lead time there? Is online, it seems to be the quicker method. Obviously you're taking out the mail time too, which takes out a week of your time right there, right off the top, you're saying.
For sure. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. If it's a form you're able to do online, we don't have to wait a week to get it in the mail or 2 days, however long it takes. We can start that 2-week processing time right that day. So it is definitely the quicker way. There are some things are a little bit easier on our end with those too. So it takes the entire processing time down a little bit. But even mailed in applications are still being done within that 2 weeks too. So if you're not an online person or not super confident in your computer skills, we're definitely speeding that up all the way around.
Yeah. The good thing about it is that those forms, even online, even if you're not an expert at online stuff, that's really broken down and it tells you step by step what to do. So don't be scared to get on there and try it. And you probably have somebody in your family that can help you out with it. And if it's going to save you some time and definitely a lot of effort getting paperwork, then definitely worth a try. I'll always try to veer people that way because it just seems to be more convenient and more efficient.
Yeah, definitely.
So aside from just the paperwork stuff, obviously a lot of the talk the past couple of years has been about communicating with UKC, specifically the registration department. And it seems like in the past couple of weeks, the avenues for customers to communicate with our representatives in that department have gotten way stronger.
Definitely, for sure. So kind of along with the registration stuff at the beginning of the summer, our average wait time by the end of the day was about 3 to 4 hours. So obviously that is not a great time for everybody to be waiting for that. And we have a much more trained staff than we have had in the past. So that has allowed us to get those average wait times at the end of the day to right about 10 minutes. So some days are lower, some days are maybe a little bit higher, just depend. Mondays are always a busy phone day from the weekends, of course, but even on Mondays, our wait times have been much more reasonable to expect people to be waiting for a response from us. Ideally, our wait time would be, of course, 0 minutes. You call in and someone picks up right away, but that's not totally realistic. But a few minute wait time on average is where we're looking to get everybody, and we're very close to getting there. So
yeah. And
then as far as emails go, we have had a big push in emails over the last couple of weeks. Also, that has kind of been, with everything else we've been working on, that's kind of been the lower focus of everything. And now that the phones and the registration stuff is caught up, we've been working really hard at those emails. And over the last roughly week, little over a week, we moved about 3 weeks worth of emails. And we're onto September 9th as I came down here today. So
that's awesome.
Working on getting that to a 24 to 48 hour response time. So well on our way for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. So even though the phone calls the wait time's gotten way shorter, and you guys have been clearing out the queue by the end of the day, every day seems like now, and you put a significant chunk in the emails, the new chat feature is still just a great method for people who have simple issues that can be taken care of pretty quickly. Because when you're chatting in on our website, just go into the ukcdogs.com website, the chat bubble there in the bottom right corner, you're not looking for more than a 2-minute wait usually, right?
Yeah, most times it's under 2 minutes, and it's a live person just like you talk to on the phone, which is great. Some other chats are kind of robot based at first to direct you where you need to go. But the nice thing about ours is you're talking with a live person right away, and they can do the same kinds of all the same answers that you would be looking for on the phone or through email. They can help you out with on chat too. So. And that's also mobile friendly. So that's great. So if you're not at home and you have a quick question, you can hop over there on your cell phone or tablet, things like that. Yeah.
And we also have the chat feature in the hunting ops department. It's been a huge help for people just wanting to check quick field trial or water race point checks.
Yeah.
And I actually got to work the chat for a little bit, which it was pretty, it's kind of fun, But making sure that you're talking to a real person, that's the important thing there. Sometimes if you got me on there, I may sound like a robot, but I was a real person. So when you get in there, they're going to take care of you quickly, or at least point you in the right direction to get your problems resolved. So that chat feature has been a big help for customers and us alike, it seems like.
For sure.
Talking about some of the issues that arise when people are sending in their paperwork that are causing them to maybe go into a hold file or go into a resolution place where they have to get more information or variant information.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the common mistakes that we see on our end so that people can be more focused when they're sending the stuff on what they need to make sure is correct on the paperwork,
sure.
just in case they're kind of glancing over the directions that are there on the paperwork for them. So let's just start out with online registration applications. I know there's a few different, there's obviously litters and singles and maybe some other things online that people can send stuff in. And there's quite a few problems that you see daily there. What are some of the more significant problems that you usually see on there?
Yeah. So for online litters, the biggest one is the verifications for the sire and dam. So because you're doing the form online, there's no physical signature like on the paper application. So what happens when you fill out and submit an application is you get an email as the owner of the sire or the owner of the dam. If you own both, you'll get 2 emails. So that's one thing that gets missed too, is they're like, well, I did it. I verified it. Well, if you own both, you have to do verifications on both. So and basically what that is you verifying that you filled out the information correct. It's the right number of puppies, that kind of thing. But also giving us permission to move forward with that registration. And if you don't get those emails or don't respond to those emails, that's when a lot of online litters get hung up, especially if you own both dogs, because you don't necessarily think you're going to get both. So be on the lookout for those for sure. Yeah.
So it's just keep that in mind. If you're doing an online litter, as soon as you're putting in you're done with your litter stuff, those emails come pretty quick, right? I mean,
it's usually within about 5 minutes.
Yeah. So if you go to your email and check it even 10, 20 minutes later, you're not seeing emails there, you could check your spam folder. But otherwise, that might be a good time to go onto the chat real quick while you're still on your computer, while you're still on the website, and getting with a representative and finding out maybe what's going on there. Because if you're not getting those emails, then something's wrong somewhere.
Yeah, because we can, if you hop on a chat and you're like, I filled out an online litter, I don't have it yet, we can check and make sure the email's correct. We can resend them within a short period of time. The links are also only valid for 72 hours. So it's not something you can do and then a week later come back and expect that those emails are still going to be valid. So if you get in a situation to where you've got the emails, you were out of town at an event for a weekend or something, and those links aren't working any longer, that's when we can do that for you manually over the phone or via a chat. So definitely reach out to us that way. One other thing that gets litters kind of hung up a little bit is when you have a duplicated set of papers on your male or your female. And when you put in the UKC number, you put in that D that's on the paper. That should be left off for the online applications because it's not part of the UKC number. It's just designating that this is a duplicate. So it doesn't actually find the number to send that email out. So that will hang up some things too. So that's something we can fix if you've done that. And that's what's holding up your litter.
Right. And then just another thing that I've seen just briefly and people asking questions about it, make sure whenever, say you're the owner of the dam, you're the breeder of the litter, and you're listing the owner of the sire and who it goes to, make sure you listen to the first owner.
Yes.
Be in contact with those people. Don't put the second owner. Don't put who used to own it. Don't put who owns the dog now, but they haven't transferred the papers over. You have to put the first owner on file for the dog currently, or else that's going to be a holdup too.
Correct. Yep. That sole signatory is that person that needs to have their name there for that verification.
Right. On single registration side, which of course we don't see as much in coonhounds, but it's really prevalent in beagles and Kerfeist and
labs,
HRC,
yep.
Labs, tons of labs, and the pit bull folks and a lot of other breeds of dogs who don't have their litters registered through UKC as much, so they just single register. What are some of the biggest issues that you see on that side of things as far as causing problems?
Yeah, for sure. For online singles, the kind of 2 biggest things that stick out to me is when you're doing one of those, you have to provide us proof of registration from AKC or an FCI affiliated registry. And that list is, of course, on our website with the approved registries we accept. But if you don't include that proof, that registration will be held and you'll have an email sent to you asking for that information. So just a copy of that. And it actually prompts you to upload it on the form. So that's what we're looking for. There's a copy of your registration certificate from that other registry. And then the other thing we see quite a bit is people that have already got that application for permanent registration, that puppy paper from their breeder. They try to do a single with that online because they don't want to have to mail it in, which, spoiler alert, I guess we are looking at moving some more of our forms to online. So be on the lookout for that in the future. We don't have a time for that, but for right now, that form has to be physically mailed in. So they'll do a single and they'll upload their puppy paper as proof. And that's going to get kicked back to you and your money's going to be refunded. And then you'll get an email asking for you to mail that form in. So if you have that paper, just don't even mess with filling out that online single. Just mail it in because that's what you're going to have to do in the end anyway. So.
Yeah, one of the good things about the website, if you go to the registration tab on ukcdogs.com and go to the single registration tab, you can search by your breed and you can see exactly what paperwork we accept as
Correct.
being. So for my coon hunting guys out there, if you got a tree and walker that was registered with PKC, it's an accepted registry for us, and you can easily single register the dog with just a picture of those papers that you upload easily, and then a few pictures of the dog, right? Just one from the front and one from each side is usually what we require for most breeds, right?
Yep. And the other thing is if you have papers from PKC or AKC, wherever that registry is, a copy of those papers filled out is just as adequate as the paper you get back from them. So you don't have to wait till you get that back. So that can sometimes speed things up for you if you have an event coming up too.
Right. And things like that, they're just proving the dog's lineage, and it's just protecting the integrity of the dogs that we breed. So people who are in and around dogs understand things like that. It makes total sense to require that.
For sure.
So let's talk about some of the common mistakes that you see on paperwork that's mailed in. What causes those things to get held up whenever they mail them in?
Yeah, so that is a little bit of a longer list, but still pretty short. So the biggest thing is to make sure when you get a paper from a breeder or from a seller who you bought a dog from, make sure they've signed that paper and that they're the actual sole signatory. So again, like you were saying with the online litters, make sure it's that first person listed on the front of that paper is that they've signed it. If they haven't signed it, we don't have permission to transfer that dog to you, and that's going to for sure hold that up. And sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to contact those individuals after you've already bought the dog, but we're kind of stuck without that. So make sure that's there. As far as color goes, make sure you've marked the color. It's in 2 spots on the applications, on the puppy papers, actually. So make sure you've marked that. Making sure you have complete and accurate payment information. So we sometimes get expiration dates left off of the credit card information, and that won't allow us to charge the card. Make sure if you've moved that you have the billing address listed on the back with the credit card information. It does not have to match your mailing address. So if your card goes to a different address, that's fine. We need to know what that is, though, for the credit card, because the bank won't approve it if we don't have that.
Yeah. One thing you're talking about cards, one thing that kind of stands out to me is a lot of the calls I get are people, their credit cards work perfectly fine or their debit cards work perfectly fine, but they live in Florida and they have this random charge in Michigan. So sometimes it's a good idea to maybe touch base with your bank if you're making an out-of-state purchase like this just beforehand, and that can save you some issues down the road. Just kind of a thought there. And one other thing that I see a lot pulling paperwork for people is just take your time when you're filling out that paperwork.
Please.
It's just going to take you a few minutes. Just read through the directions and write legibly. So that way we make sure that we get your information correct as far as dog names and owner names. Take your time, follow the directions, and fill it out where we can read it. And you're usually in pretty good shape when we come to getting your paperwork back in a timely manner.
We don't like to make mistakes, but sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenge to read some of that handwriting. So yeah, just give us a little bit of help and just slow down a little bit, and we'll be happy to get going on that for you.
Yeah. So now we talked about slowing it down, but let's talk about speeding it up a little bit.
Yes.
A lot of folks these days are in a hurry and talking about accelerated services. And we do offer accelerated services, right? We have a few different options.
Yep. We have 3 different options. Rush is a 5-day processing time, which does not include the mailing time back to you. So that will still get sent through the regular mail, which, like we said earlier, is taking about a week for most people, sometimes only a couple days. We also have Expedite. That is processed and back to you within 5 days. So we actually send that back USPS priority mail. You get an email with a tracking number, and it's generally about a 3-day mailing. So by the time we've got it processed, printed, and out in the mail, it's back to you within 5 days. And then the fastest one is next day air. That one is as long as we've received it by 1 p.m. Eastern time that day, goes out that day, you get it the next business day. So, and that gets sent by FedEx. And again, you get an email with a tracking number for that as well. The most important thing with any of those services to make sure that you're getting that service, though, is you have to write it on the outside of the envelope. And the best place to put it on the outside is actually in the address on the envelope.
Right.
So where you would put United Kennel Club, put attention rush or attention expedite, whichever one of those services you have decided to go with. We get a lot of mail coming in, and our mailroom does not look inside every envelope. So putting it on that outside ensures that they get it to that department as soon as it comes in the door, as opposed to getting put in with regular mail and we don't know you've paid next day or for 2 weeks. So very, very important to put that on the outside. Right.
Absolutely. I don't think there's much to dive in there. Just it tells you there on the application that you're putting in. So make sure you're paying attention to that, and it tells you the prices for each of those selections. So if you're needing accelerated services, be sure you're paying attention to that. And like she said, make sure on the outermost envelope you put it out there and indicate it for the mailroom to get it sorted out correctly. One thing that a lot of people listening here, most of them are probably going to be subscribers to our magazines, whether it's Coonhound Bloodlines, the Hunting Retriever magazine, or the new UKC Field magazine for the pointing dogs. This is another thing that your department handles, right? Taking magazine subscriptions.
Yep. So anything that comes in online does get processed by our fulfillment team, but all of the mailed in and the ones done online are done by my team here. And one little kind of cheat for everyone at home is if you do want to subscribe and want to do that online, you will save $5 by doing that. So we're happy to help you if that's not an option for you, but you're able to do that yourself and save a little bit of money. I mean, everything's getting more expensive on us, so that $5 can definitely help. And then if for some reason you don't get that magazine, we'll happily resend them for you and make sure everything is good to go on your subscription. So moving forward, just give us a call or pop on that online chat and we can absolutely take a look and see where we might have went wrong and get you another one sent out for sure.
Okay, so let's kind of segue into some of the commonly asked questions that we may get when we're traveling to events from people who are out there. Some common questions that I get from hunters in different venues. So one that I get a lot of, more so recently, it's kind of a new age thing, is people who own semen on a dog but don't technically own the dog that's the sire of the litter of pups. They just own some semen off of that dog. And when it comes to verifying or doing litter applications, how does that process work?
Yeah, so for any litter that was used, that was bred using frozen semen, the best way to do that is going to be a paper application because the online application is going to need the registration date on those papers. And if you don't own that dog, you're not going to have that date. So dog does need to be DNA profiled. So if it was collected after 1997. So most dogs now using frozen semen have been collected after that date. So DNA needs to be on file before we can register that litter. As long as that DNA is done, what you would do if you bought the semen, Trevor, is you would list yourself as the owner of the sire on the litter application, even though you don't own the dog, because you're stating that you own the semen.
Right.
So you would get the owner of the dam to sign their part, and then we would register the litter that way. The paperwork would come back saying that you were the sire owner, but all of our paperwork kind of says sire or semen to cover that. So we don't have a transfer form. There's nothing extra you have to do outside of having that dog DNA profiled.
Yeah, perfect. I wanted to ask you that on here because I ask you that every other week in person. So now I can just listen back to the podcast and get my answer. So helping myself out a little bit there. We talked a little bit about single registering dogs already. But what we haven't talked about is single registering dogs with no known lineage. And this can happen in coonhounds, cur feist, and is beagles a thing?
Yep.
Okay, so beagles. This isn't for HRC people or people like that, but for those three, coonhounds, cur feist, and beagles, there is option to single register their dogs with no known lineage as what we call X-breds, right?
Yes, yep. So in the current feist, it is a little bit different. We don't call them X-bred any longer, but you can still register a dog without
tree and cur.
Yes, correct. Without that known lineage. But basically, what that does is it allows us to allow you to compete in all of our hunting and performance events. Can't do a bench show or confirmation show because the dog is of unknown or maybe known mixed. Maybe you bred an English and a black and tan
no
together.
breed standards for an X-bred there. So,
Correct.
Yeah.
So still allows you to go out and compete with your dog and go to those big national level events. Win any of the prizes that come with that. Just not bench show or confirmation. So when you fill out that single application, for lineage, you'll just put unknown. And that is that indication to us with the photo, so we can make sure it meets the breed type.
Right.
And then you'll get a registration number and be able to start hunting.
That's right. That's whenever taking good, clear pictures is so important, because
Correct.
we have to make sure that the dog is, at least if you're talking about coonhounds, that's at least look like a coonhound.
Right.
And things like that. So take good, clear pictures of the dogs, one from each side, one from the front. And like we talked about, that's all right there on, if you're doing it on paperwork, it's right there on the paperwork, or if you're doing it online, it's all listed there. So just follow the directions, and follow the directions, and it's just a really easy process.
For sure.
I know we want to go more in depth on this next topic in a later episode where we can really dive into the whole process and maybe looking at some changes to the process even down the road somewhere. But some of the questions I get are sometimes, let's say I have an X-bred coonhound. I've bred my full-blood black and tan to a walker dog. Now I have an X-bred coonhound. What's the process of getting that dog back to being registered black and tan down the road? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, for sure. So if you say you just bred your black and tan out just one generation, and you're going to breed those puppies all back to black and tans, you were just looking for some kind of trait you wanted to get in there, then once you have met that purebred coefficient, you can apply to come back in as a purebred. Right now, the association does have to approve that. So if you're wanting to come in as a black and tan and that association is not accepting those breed transfers, that would kind of be held until they are accepting them. That is something that they can change from year to year. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're out forever, but you're out until they've accepted those. So that's how it is right now. Like you said, we're going to do a deep dive into this a little bit later, but that's the short answer.
and that may have been a bad example on my part. I just always tend to talk about black and tans, but that's one of the few associations that's kind of against that and doesn't have that option to do that right now. Having to get that chartered breed association to sign off on it will kind of hold you up in that process for black and tan specifically, but a few of the others do. So it's at least worth trying a breed transfer if you need to. So we talked about some of the common things, mistakes that people can make on their paperwork, and what can get them held up here in the office if one of those mistakes were made. So let's just say I haven't gotten my paperwork. What can I do to get it resolved?
So first, I would look at when you sent it. If you've only sent it a week ago, we talked that we're working about 2 weeks out. So probably just give it a little bit longer. But if you've sent it in 3-4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, and haven't seen a charge come through on your card, haven't seen paperwork come in the mail, things like that, give us a call or hop on the chat. You can send us an email too. We're just trying to get those quicker options for everyone. And we can take a look, and maybe it is something where the credit card didn't go through because you were out of state or something like that. But most of our problems we can take care of over the phone. If it is something we can't do over the phone, we can send you an email for the signature that might be missing or things like that. But at the end of the day, we don't know that you sent something until it comes across our desks. So we're happy to check on those things. But if it's something that we haven't come across yet, it was only sent a week ago, we're not necessarily going to know. Right. Unfortunately, with the amount of envelopes we do have, which is a great thing, but we just can't go look through all the mail. But we definitely can help you out if we do have it here and it is stuck in that problem hold file. We can get it taken care of for sure.
Right. So one of the things that's probably become way more popular the past couple of years with some of the mailing issues than it was before is duplicating paperwork.
Correct.
I know that's one of the things that I do most often when I'm at events, or these paperwork have been processed. They're already in your name. They were mailed out 2 months ago. We got to duplicate them now and get them into your name. Talk about the process of duplicating paperwork. How does that all work?
Yeah. So we have kind of two ways to do that. We have just our normal duplicate application that we've had as long as I've been here, so quite a few years, and that will send you a brand new set of papers. So if you took it to an event or it the dog chewed it up, which does happen quite often.
Yeah.
Actually, dogs will really eat your homework if you let them do it. So if you're the current owner and you just need a new set of papers, all you got to do is fill out that duplicate. The duplicate you can mail in, or you can take a picture and email, or even fax in. And we'll get you a new set of papers sent out. If we sent papers out to you a month ago and it's lost in the mail, we can send a new set of papers out with that. What we also have, which is new within the last couple of years, is a duplicate transfer. So what that allows is, if I bought a dog from you, but I hadn't put it in my name yet and I've lost it, you can fill out a duplicate and sign the duplicate transfer, authorizing us to transfer it to you to myself as well. And then you send in both of those forms, and we just transfer it, duplicate it, send it to the new owner, and then you don't have to be fooling with it anymore. So it's really allowed us to kind of bypass the breeder in some cases who, sent the paperwork to someone that they didn't get in the mail, and speed things up for the new owner to get out there.
Yeah, since that came on board, that's made life a lot easier for a lot of people. So I appreciate that new innovation to the whole duplication process. Makes it super easy for people, especially like you said, people lost their puppy papers, get the breeder to sign off on it, and you can transfer the dog in your name in one swoop. It takes out a lot of lead time on getting your papers processed quickly. I kind of didn't had this on the original run of show here, so I'm just throwing it at you, but I'm sure it's something that you get quite often. So let's just say I just bought a dog, and this has happened to a lot of people. I bought a dog, the entire back and front of the papers is filled out with this previous owner's information, but they didn't mail the paperwork in, and now I've bought the dog. What's my course of action there?
Yeah, we see that quite often across all breeds that we do register. So we have a form specifically for this. It's called an affidavit form. So it's a $20 fee, so it will cost a little bit extra, but all you have to do is fill out that affidavit with all the new owner's information and send that in with the paper that's filled out with the old owner's information. So that gives us all the dog information on that original, and then the affidavit allows us to get the new owner's information so we know who to send it to. But you don't have to get duplicates or clean certificates, go back and get any new signatures, anything like that. It just shows us that I may have bought the dog from Joe, who bought the dog from the breeder, but now I've got that trail. So very, very easy to do.
Yeah, I think people get overwhelmed by it, but it's a super easy process. Just one piece of paper to fill out and you're set. 20 extra bucks, super simple. So I think one of the best things about this podcast is that it's given us a chance to be transparent across everything. Alan and I discuss a lot on here about rules and interpretations and programs, and we talk a lot about major events, but I think this is a great opportunity having you on here to talk about the past couple of years and some of the struggles that the registration and customer service departments faced with the issues that were going on. So the first thing that you hear a lot when you're out is talking about how all the blame is on COVID. Do you have anything to say to kind of dispel those rumors a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. We are definitely not blaming anything on COVID. COVID has been 2.5 years in the making at this point. We did work from home. We never once shut down. We worked from home for a couple of weeks, and then started cycling people back, kind of in shifts, because we still had distancing requirements and things like that in our state at that time. But everybody was back in the office as soon as they could be. And if they weren't back in the office, they were working remote. So we never once shut down. So that it's definitely, it messed us all up, not just us, but our society up. But, we never stopped working, for sure.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it says about me that I think I was the first employee sent home to work remotely and the last one to come back. So I was as non-essential as it comes, it seems. But
I hated working from home. I was begging to come back.
Yeah, it's hard to get anything done at home, that's for sure. But I think one thing that COVID did do positively for us is maybe we weren't set up so well to work remotely and have the systems in place to still continue to do it in an efficient manner when people are from home. And I think now we're way better set up for anything like that pops up in the future.
Yeah. It kind of forced us to make that shift. And now looking back, we can obviously thank COVID for that one part, for sure. But it definitely taught us a lot for that part.
Absolutely. I think the biggest issue, and we'll probably agree on this, in the past couple of years, has been hiring, training, and retaining employees That's the biggest hurdle, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. And we're not alone in that.
Right.
Most people in every part of our country are seeing the hiring signs and things like that all over our country. And it definitely did not miss us. That was the biggest part of our challenge, was finding people that wanted to work and wanted to stay. And of course, anytime you hire someone, there's training involved. You can't just pull someone in off the street and expect them to know what we do and help customers in the way that they need help. So that was by far our biggest challenge over the last 2 to 3 years, was getting staff and getting them up to board to help everyone.
Yeah, it's got to be so frustrating when you're already working with a kind of a skeleton crew, to say, as a staff, and then you hire in a new person, and you have to take one of these people who should be answering calls or processing paperwork to train this new person, and then as soon as they're done, this new person leaves. It's like,
yes,
the struggle of the past couple of years, but it's good to see that we have a kind of a full staff now at this point.
We've got a great group of people in here, and a lot of them haven't been here 6 months, some of them a little over a year. But we've got a really, really great group, and the most exciting thing is they're all just excited to be here.
Right.
They're very happy when they come in and very positive, and it makes a much more positive work environment for everybody else too.
Yeah. And kind of speaking of the last two things, talking about finding out how to work remotely and how that works, and just becoming competent at it and efficient in that. And then also hiring employees. That's what led to a second branch being opened up, correct, in Phoenix, Arizona?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things we had kind of looked at is it was just so hard to find people here. And we're like, well, we know we can't do remote work. Why do we have to have people here? We've got lots of online forums, lots of phone calls, emails, chats. You don't physically have to be here to do any of those things. So we actually looked at Phoenix. Phoenix is a really big call center hub in our country. So a lot of people, and it's mostly remote. So most of the people kind of in that area are used to remote work. They know they've got the capabilities to do it. So what we wanted to do was to hire a team out there, and not just, there were businesses we could have hired to answer phones for us if that was our end goal, but we wanted to hire team members to help our customers, not just hire a company to answer questions for our customers. That was really important to us. So everybody calling in is still getting that same level of service that they're accustomed to here at United Kennel Club.
Right. It's been since they've been on board and became sufficient out there, and I met Tiffany a few times, who's the manager out there.
She was at Oaks this year.
Yeah, she was at Oaks, so some of you probably met her there. So, and she's helping run that Phoenix or that Arizona team out there and doing a great job. So getting back to some of the struggles that you faced, also, of course, mailing issues and delays, which we talked about a little bit already, caused some of the issues to happen. And specifically for some of the people who are participating in the performance program or trying to get DNA on file, trying to get stuff to and from the lab there in UC Davis has been an issue as well.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, no business was immune to that hiring shortage that we're all have faced and are currently facing. So post office went through this, similar issues we had, but that has been much, much better. I mean, things are still going to get caught up from time to time, but it's going to be it's been much, much less than it has been. And then DNA lab, what we have done internally is started sending batches to the lab weekly. But it does still take 2 to 3 weeks to get results from the lab. So that is something we can't speed up. We don't have the ability to process that sample for everyone. So we're sending it out more frequently to make sure we're getting things back more frequently. But it is still going to take a 2 to 3 weeks usually before we get results back to send out. And then we get them uploaded so those sires can be nominated and get those litters in.
Right. And some of the longer lead times that people have been seeing on paperwork has definitely led to just a great increase in call and email volumes that we're seeing here in the office. So that's also been a hurdle that you guys have had to overcome, right?
Yep. Definitely has been a challenge, but like we kind of talked about over the last month, we've really, really got those down and keep them coming because we're ready for them. So
yeah, there we go. Perfect. And this is kind of a double-edged sword here, but in the past couple of years, we seem to keep setting new standards for the number of paperwork and applications we're seeing coming in. And this is great, but it was kind of bad timing with the short staff and everything, and that kind of led to some of the issues as well, right?
Timing was not great, but, I will take busy over not busy any day. So, very excited for the growth our company has seen because, not everybody was lucky enough to have that over the last couple of years. We're much better equipped to deal with it. But that was definitely, if I could have picked a better time, I definitely would have, but welcome it just the same. So
yeah. I do have to commend you and your team. You guys worked so many hours. I'm gonna just single out you and Kelly in particular. It seems like anytime I was here, you guys were here, and
we joked about putting up little cots in the back for us to just sleep on. So
the first one's here and the last one's gone every day for a couple of years, working extended hours through the week, working weekends, and people don't see the effort you put in, but man, it's sure appreciated by everyone, I believe. So thank you guys for that.
Well, it's easy to do it when you love what you do. So I can absolutely say I would not have put in that same kind of time if I did not enjoy what I do here. So
yeah, so we've kind of got through that part of it, kind of talking about that and being transparent about some of the issues that we saw the past couple of years, which we've already talked about, the major dent that's been put in that. So better things on the horizon. And speaking of better things on the horizon, you guys have some breaking news that's coming out, right?
Yeah, super exciting stuff. So starting on Monday, the 10th, October 10th, we are expanding our service hours. So right now, our phones come on at 9 and shut off at 4:30, but that's Eastern time. So if you're not on Eastern time, you don't have a great window because you're at work or, things like that. So we're expanding our service hours from 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. So that'll really, really help people that have, the typical 9 to 5 job, but still have questions they need to call and can't wait on hold while they're at work, things like that. So we want to be able to serve you all better. And it is only going to be registration. So if you need to reach Hunting Ops or our All Breed Sports Department for questions to them, they will still be leaving at 4:30 each day. But we have limited knowledge in that area on our side, so we can help with a few things. Otherwise, we can get you over to their voicemail so they can give you a call back the next day. But we're very excited to expand those hours to help everybody. And that's phone and chat. So you'll be able to reach us on either of those for 12 hours a day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be really helpful, especially for the West Coast people or people who are working through the day.
Yes, for sure.
And then also, I guess there's going to be some new offerings for as far as paperwork packages and type of paperwork coming soon.
Yeah. So we're refreshing our registration offerings. So, we coming December 1st. So we will kind of tease some more of those options as it gets closer. But we're going to offer gold foil on more types of paperwork than just our 4th generation. We're looking at some other metallic option upgrades we can have to make that paperwork aesthetically look a little bit nicer to frame and make it easier to frame so you can see everything if you do decide to do that. We're going to start offering a 5th generation performance pedigree. So right now we have a 3, a 4, a 6, and a 7. So we've kind of left that 5 generation out. So we've got one of those coming. More details to come on the updated pricing in those full offering breakdowns. But that's kind of just the teaser for what we have coming there.
Yeah, perfect. So definitely going to be more information coming on that. So be sure you're staying tuned to our social media platforms, our website for breaking news on all that kind of stuff. So, well, Taylor, I appreciate you coming and sitting with me for a little bit today to talk about all about customer service and registration department here at UKC. This is a good refresher for the podcast, I believe. We've talked a lot about coonhounds and beagles the past couple months, so we can look forward to more of that content coming, but registration affects everybody, and I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, and hope you stick around for next time. Thanks for listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and to like and follow UKC Hunting Ops on Facebook and Instagram.